Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the first inject of the Great Canadian Disaster. I'll just quickly go to our agenda here. So we're going to do a recap of the original scenario that we had gone through, as well as some of the sector impacts that we had at launch. We'll go through some of the highlights of the submissions that came through. We'll announce the leaderboard, and then we'll go through and introduce Inject 1. Before I get started, I want to extend a huge thank you to everybody that has jumped on board for this initiative. We originally had expected to have about 20 people participate. When we closed participation, we had 85 individuals and teams participating, and we had 13 teams, individuals submit their responses to the first scenario. So that is great. And a huge thank you to our judges that all stepped up and reviewed all of the submissions and provided their scoring. We couldn't have done this without you. So without further ado, let's go through this. So if you remember the scenario recap, 70% of Canada was without power. 45 minutes, there were rolling blackouts, and it was multi-provincial. We didn't know what was happening. And so early indicators that it could be a cyber operation, but it was quite unknown at that time. So here's how there's 5 participant groups and 5 very different realities, whether they were large corporations, medium-sized corporations, small,
medium-sized corporations, small,
community, local government, and
community, local
individuals and
government, and
households. And
individuals and households. And each one of those
were impacted in a
were
different way.
impacted in a different way.
So when we look at our judging criteria,
our judging criteria
looked at decision making, continuity of operations, coordination, and resilience and recovery. So the scenario we all responded to. There was a grid collapse. There was a suspected cyber attack. There was communications were declining. And there was a lot of rumor and misinformation that was spreading. Because remember, this was Friday at noon, and as the weekend was impending for some. And so when we looked at all of the teams, the top priorities that almost every team ranked were protection of life and safety, establishing command and control, and sustain those critical functions. And so clear communication ran across all 3 of these and was treated as its a priority in its own right, not as an afterthought. So communications was very important through all of these. Some of the key risks that were identified that most teams flagged: communication failure, fuel and backup power, staff safety and availability, a loss of critical services, misinformation and trust, and the potential of a cyber escalation, because again, we didn't know whether this was an actual cyber event. And just for everyone, I will post this PowerPoint presentation after the fact so everybody has access to it. And so key decisions that were made: activate an EOC, declare state of emergency where applicable, reroute life safety systems, close or evacuate some of the sites that didn't have power, notify regulators, open shelters and warming centers. So these spread across all 5 of the different key areas, whether it was a large corporation or a community. Some of the decisions and authority structure we have can be seen here and are outlined in those 5 bullet points. I'll just give everyone a second to read over the slide. What had to keep running and with what? So here's some of the critical functions that were protected: emergency services, water, wastewater, payments, financial teams, internal, external communications, data centers, and employee safety and accountability. And then the resources that were leaned on were backup generators and fuel, EOC, satellite phones, radios, landlines, phone trees, manual workarounds, and mutual aid partners. Internal and external and fighting misinformation when it comes to communications. So we had internal phone trees, as we mentioned. External were your audiences, public, regulators, media partners. And then some of the misinformation, trying to establish a single source of truth, official channels only, active monitor social and news for emerging rumors, and then that plain language corrections and staff trying to avoid speculation. When we look ahead, we look at the cascading crisis, um, potential fuel depletion, the telecom collapse, loss of physical security, so cameras, security within buildings, vulnerable populations are now at a growing risk, staff fatigue, and then decision triggers, they're listed here as well. So some of the strengths that teams saw within themselves that were identified, fast activation, cross-functional reflexes, uh, some of their plans paid off that they already had playbooks, drills, and training that made the early response easier, life safety and communication first, radios as a fallback, and then that calm leadership within organizations. So 5 of the key takeaway, or sorry, where teams wanted to get stronger, um, is the communication fragility, fuel supply, early situational awareness, after hours coverage, messaging, and activation triggers. So 5 of the key takeaways going forward are listed here. So communication resilience and technical resilience, discipline beats data in the fog, defining clear activation triggers, plan to stand alone, and treat the grid and cyber as an enterprise wide. And there's some key points in those. And so I'm just going to give everybody a moment. And so let's close some of the gaps. I will open the floor if you want to type in your comments as to some of the lessons learned if you participated in this scenario. What were some of your thoughts that may not have been covered in this presentation? And I will lean to Terry to read any of these comments out. Terry, do we have any comments coming through?
None yet.
So not hearing any, I'm just going to pause my presentation here. And do we have Garth on the line?
Oh, Garth, we can hear you, but you're very fuzzy.
Garth, do you want to jump on and talk about scoring?
No. Garth, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. Your audio is just terrible. Anybody else hearing it the way I am?
Okay, not seeing Garth, we will continue on with the presentation. So when we look at the scoring, what we did is we took all of the submissions, we shared them with judges. So each judge scored 4 submissions. And then we also, Garth developed an AI tool that was able to score some of the submissions against the professional practice standards and guidelines that are out there. And so what we found was the AI scoring was very close to what some of our certified professionals were scoring as well. And so we will rotate the AI scoring so that every team will be judged by AI at least once through the process. But we also vet some of its answers to make sure that it's in line. But every team was scored by 4. And so if you have submitted a response and have not received an email from me, in protection of all of the team's privacy and information, I was remiss to ask for contact information for submissions. So every company has been given a team letter. So the leaderboard probably will not make sense to a lot of people that don't know what their letter is. So just reach out to me if you did provide a submission, and I will give you your team letter so you can follow the scoreboard. But I am pleased to announce that these are the leading teams. So Team Toba, Team is in the lead, CIOB is in second, and ANDJ is in third. So congratulations to these three teams on having some excellent responses. The scoring is down the side here for the other teams. And what I will do is by Monday, each of the teams will receive all the feedback from the judges and as well as your average scoring. So you have that on record. And so as we go forward, these averages will calculate each inject's information as a new score and then have your tally total. So here we are 45 minutes after the initial information in the scenario is happening. The next inject from here is going to be for a few hours from now. Obviously, it will be in July, but that time pass will be 2 hours before the second inject. So right now, the power is lost at primary facilities. Backup systems activate as the national disruption deepens, and your team has 2 hours. So concerns are growing around fuel availability, generator runtime, sustaining operations if disruptions continue. Some organizations begin reducing non-essential systems to preserve power capacity. Telecommunications are becoming unstable. Providers are shifting to backup power. The internet is intermittent. VPN access is degrading, and mobile networks are congested. News outlets are providing limited but conflicting information, while social media begins to amplify rumors about the cause and duration of the disruption. So the professional practices focused on this inject are business continuity strategies, incident preparedness and response, plan development and implementation. Some of the risk and resilience trends touched in this are cyber, IT disruptions, HR issues, and reputational risk. Um, So what began as a simple outage is now an ambiguous contested event, arriving all at once. Facts are still unconfirmed. There are viral posts circulating that it is a cyber attack. Your security team sees some anomalies that may or may not be related, and roughly a third of staff cannot be reached, and the media wants a statement. So functional impacts, you have IT security, the workforce, telecommunications or communications and media, and facilities.
Perry?
Key decisions. Do you issue a holding statement? To whom and what are you saying? Is it a cyber incident or purely a power outage? Set escalation triggers, and you need to account for your people. So sector impacts, large corporations are forced into immediate continuity operations. Backup power is giving temporary stabilization, but fuel management is an issue. Medium-sized corporations, they have significant disruptions to their internal systems, customer service, supply chain. Many are struggling to operate across multiple locations with constrained resources and incomplete information. Small and medium enterprises, disruption to their internet, payment, cloud platforms are all failing. There's no continuity of resources, and owners are trying to get a hold of staff, deal with inventory, and that financial risk. For local communities and governments, the pressure mounts to maintain essential services as communications degrade and traffic systems fail. Misinformation complicates the public messaging and the community response here. So here's some of the key questions to consider. Do you declare a business continuity or crisis management incident? Will you activate alternative sites now or wait for greater stability? Do you reduce non-essential systems to preserve generator capacity or fuel reserves? And how will you verify information and counter misinformation with staff and stakeholders? So this will be posted to the website. It's also available as a resource on this webinar right now, which is the general sheet. And so we highlighted each of these and the impacts that they have. So with that, I will pause and allow people an opportunity. And Marlene, I see your comment here, and I will give you your letter. Um, and so one comment here was it was a challenge. Remember, we were only dealing with the first 45 minutes of an event and not to go further into the response. I completely agree. And so in this context, you're looking at now we're 45 minutes in. Now we're going for 2 hours until the next inject. Any other comments? You can use the exact same workbook, just change your answers to relate to the new inject. And there were a few comments earlier, is would we be working through the workbook in this webinar? We hadn't planned to, but if we receive the feedback that that would be valuable, we're more than happy to adjust. And for the next webinars, actually go through that workbook and with some highlights from each of the teams that had submitted. Do you have any other comments, suggestions? The results will be posted on the, if you scroll down to original scenario, we'll post the scores there. And Carrie Ann, if anybody submitted a response, if you can just email me with your team name and your organization, then I'll be able to give you your letter. And as I mentioned earlier, this PowerPoint, as well as the leaderboard, will be posted online. I'll give everybody just a couple minutes to submit any questions that they have. And again, the recording of this webinar will be posted to the website as well. So the question, if the impact is within Canada or if the issues impacted the US or other North America, to check if there are any fallbacks or recovery strategies which can be implemented. That is a very good question. Our scenario is within Canada. We don't have the information yet as what is happening within North America yet. Michelle, yes, you can submit your workbook as the response. You can just email it to perry@dri.ca and we'll use those as well. Because I actually took the Excel responses and put them all into the workbooks for the judges. So you can do it either way. Alicia, I will post the full PowerPoint slide deck in there. And then as well, there will be the 2-page download that is the inject scenario. I'll give everyone one last minute. If there's any more questions. Right, not seeing anything more come through. Thank you, everybody, for participating, as well as thank you again to our judges. I will update all of these by the end of the day on the website and we will make them available. And by all means, if you have any questions throughout, It tells if we are able to email attachments. That you can email me the attachment of the workbook, unless you're speaking of other attachments. Oh, we are unable to attach any documents to submit. No, you can just email them directly to me. But I can look, Marlene, at that at the submission form to see if we can upload documents. Excellent. Well, thank you again, everybody. And we will give it a minute here and then we will end the broadcast just so it doesn't cut off like we did last time. So thanks again. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself.
Okay, just let everybody know the presentation file is now uploaded to the resources within this platform.